Hey, hello everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak uh, with all of you in beautiful, cool Arizona. Is Tucson high up elevation wise, or are you sort of baking under the sun? What's it like
We're
over there?
we're baking.
You're
Yeah.
baking it. We're baking here. I moved from Chicago to the Bay Area about a year and a half ago. I'm not in the Bay. I'm in the Bay Area is sort of like the suburb of San Francisco toward the inland area. I'm only about 20 minutes from Oakland, but it was 99 degrees yesterday. I was like, whoa, ma, that was a lot. Anyway, but usually it's gorgeous and cool and lovely. Um, Jody and Andy, hello. I already met Diane and Jim and Casey, of course. And with small meeting, but I think only the cognoscenti are here, right? The really pro InDesign users. And I'm happy to share everything that I plan on sharing. And you can ask me questions, just interrupt me as I'm going. That's perfectly fine. If you are not familiar with me, let me share my screen and show you a couple of my websites. Oh, I forgot to go here. Let's see if my site is up. Yay. So my company is called Seneca Design and Training. It's been around for like 3 decades. And these days I specialize in InDesign and InDesign related workflows. So using InCopy, Google Docs, Microsoft Word, remote workflows, that kind of thing. I'm also a big fan of Acrobat. I do a fair amount of Acrobat videos and some training. I'm actually kind of semi-retired now. This is the first year that I decided I'm going to turn down conference invitations, so I'm not speaking at Creative Pro Week for the first time, and I'm not speaking at Max, even though I was invited. Um, because why? I mean, I really don't want to. I'm enjoying my life out here in California and just doing stuff that doesn't involve me having to travel and write up, you know, lots of slides and handouts and so on. I still do all my LinkedIn Learning videos, which I have a lot of fun with. And that's what I like to do. So I'd still like to present and I like to talk to new InDesign users. I do training and consulting mainly remotely and decided to reach out to some of the InDesign user groups to see, hey, you need somebody to speak? I'm happy to speak. So thank you very much, Casey. I'm also, let me hang on a minute. Let me see if I can get rid of some of this stuff that Zoom adds to my screen that you can't see. Um, I'm a co-founder of Creative Pro with David Blattner, and I sold my interest in it to him a few years ago, but I'm still kind of involved. He and I still do the InDesign podcast every month, which we have been doing since 19, no, not, can't be 19, no, 2005, which is a heck of a long time to be doing a podcast. And they're all available on, Apple Podcasts or wherever. Creative Pro is a really great site. We merged InDesign Secrets into Creative Pro a while ago, and they do an incredible week-long conference that covers most of the creative apps. Well, not most of them. I'd say, the big three: Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign, as well as Bridge and After Effects and some other ones, and also PowerPoint and Keynote to some extent because they cover everything that designers work on. And maybe one day they'll have a bunch of sessions on Canva, who knows? And I have a discount code that I'll tell you about in a bit if you want to register for it. You can go to DC and attend in person, which is always a ton of fun, or you can watch it online or it's streamed live. Okay, so, and then I do a bunch of videos for um, LinkedIn, what used to be called lynda.com, and InDesign tips for design geeks, creating ebooks, all this kind of stuff. Is um, I tried to get free passes to LinkedIn Learning, because otherwise it's like 35 or 40 bucks a month to access all these, unless you can get in with your organization or library. But they said, oh, we need a week's prior notice. I'm like, okay, never mind. But if anybody wants to see any of these videos, shoot me an email and I'll see if I can sneak you in the back door. Okay, so that's all about me, really not that much information, but let's jump over to InDesign here and let me again get rid of some of these hide floating meeting controls. Okay. InDesign Power User tips and tricks. That's what we're going to be talking about. I have probably hundreds of tips and tricks that I've done since I've been teaching and presenting on InDesign over the years and in that podcast. And it was really hard for me in the past week to figure out I only have an hour, or actually more like 45 minutes because we need Q&A and there's the intro. What can I talk about? So I chose some of my favorite ones that I have put together recently. And hopefully you will enjoy them. So the first one that I want to talk about is this brand new spanking text to image feature. And a problem with it, oh, I already have it open in InDesign, and how to get around it. So this is welcome to Tucson, Arizona. Now, here's the thing. When you place an image like normal, so if I select this image here, if I click on it, oh, first of all, an obnoxious thing is that this toolbar appears by default whenever you select any kind of image frame, empty or full, asking you, begging you to use this new feature. And it really drives me crazy. Now you can click on the meatball menu here and choose to hide it or to pin it to like a different screen. But better, just go to the window menu and turn off contextual taskbar. Yay, and then it disappears. And if you do that with no documents open, then that becomes your application default. So if you ever want to do the text to image feature, you can either turn it back on or do what I do, which is go to the window menu, and there is a text to image beta panel. And I added it to my custom workspace over here. So now I can just enter my prompt here. I could look at my different samples here. I can choose the kind of content I want. It's a lot easier, I think. Okay, anyway. The deal is that when you place an image, normally, like this guy, if you look in the links panel, there it is, and I can right-click on it and choose Edit Original. It'll open up in Photoshop, and I can modify it. Maybe I want to add a couple more cacti. But if you do text to image, how do you do that? So let me show you. So if I select this, and I'll use the text to image beta panel, let's do something different than Tucson. Let's say, how about snow in the Rocky Mountains. And we'll do a photo, and I want it to fit the frame. So I'll just say frame dimensions, generate. Yeah, I agree. They've gotten into a little bit of hot water recently because they've updated their terms of service that some people took to understand that we're going to use anything that you put in the cloud to train our generative image maker, which is not true. But I think now they're putting up all these cautions. So that's pretty cool. And if you look in the variations, you can see other samples that it did. So let's say I like this one. Okay. And that's great. Now, if you look in the links panel here, it does exist. It is here. Let me move this over. Generated AI image 11. I guess I've done this 11 times so far. But if I right click in here, where is edit or edit original? Where is this thing? Nobody knows. It exists in like the Twilight Zone. It's not an embedded image. It's not in your Creative Cloud space. It's just sitting there. So if you print or if you export to PDF or you upload to publish online, it will appear there. No worries. And you can see the information here that this image has an effective PPI of 455, which is more than enough for anything. These generated images are always at 72 PPI, but they're huge. So when you make them fit into a regular size image frame, the pixels go higher, the number of pixels per inch. Also, they're always JPEG and they're always RGB, in case you're wondering. So it is a full-fledged image, but what if we wanted to add a cactus in the middle of this thing? How do we do that? The answer is that you have to get it out of that twilight zone. And there's a few different ways to do that. One way is to select that image in the links panel and choose to embed the link, which is, I love that feature, being able to save the entire image in the InDesign file itself. I do that quite a bit with my handouts and things like that. It works with anything, Acrobat files, layered PSD files. Excuse me. But now that it's embedded, you'll see it gets this little icon. And I still can't edit it, but because it's part of the InDesign file itself. But now I can choose to unembed it. And that extracts it from the InDesign file and says, hey, where do you want me to save it to? Do you want to link to the original file? You know, they haven't really updated this alert to deal with the generated AI images. So I'll say, no, I don't want to link to that one. And then it says, okay, where do you want to put it? And I'll say, let's put it right in here. And I'll choose that folder. It doesn't give you a chance to rename it or anything, but now if I right click on it, there you go. Now you can, it's an actual standalone high res image that you can edit as however much you want. If we look at image size, you can see it's 32 inches at 72. But if I change the resolution to 300, it's, you know, like 6 by 8, which is a decent size at 300. Okay, so I'm not, can I do a cactus? I don't know. Let me see. How about if I take the paintbrush and I will get something like that? And I'm probably going to end up drawing something pornographic. Please stop me if I do that. All right, there we go. There's my rendition of a cactus. And I'll save it and then jump back to InDesign. And there's the lovely cactus in the middle of the snowy Rockies. So that's one way to do that. Now let's try something else. If I delete this image and fill it with a different one. So I'm going to go back to text to image and let's try this guy. Once again, it's in the links panel, but it is in the twilight zone. So another way to do this is to, and I'm not going to spend a ton more time on this, but you can go to File and choose Package, and packaging will extract that file from the twilight zone and save it just like the image that we looked at in Photoshop. Package does that. And then what was the other? Oh, the other way that Mike Rankin realized, that he's the editor-in-chief at Creative Pro, is you can select this and choose to, you go to the links panel menu, go down to utilities and choose copy links to. This is a great utility for, like, I often will use it to select all the links in my links panel and say copy links to, because I've grabbed them from all over my hard drive and I want them all in one nice, neat links folder at the same level as my InDesign file. And I don't want to have to wait to the package to do that. So it just makes copies of all the images, puts them there, updates the links. But if you do that just for this generated AI image, it'll do the same thing. So I'll select this folder, same one. And now it's number 12. All right. So if I right click on it, I can choose to edit the original and that will open up in Photoshop. So those are 3 different ways to edit these generated images. Maybe by the time it's out of beta, like next year or something, they'll have a button that'll say, you know, extract, or a preference that says save local copies for generated images. But until then, those are your secret weapons, okay? All right, another tip that I want to talk about. Let's see, what's next? Easily add diacritics. This is in a recent video of mine that I did for LinkedIn Learning, and I think it's this guy. Yeah. So diacritics, or the technical term, little squiggles that appear above and below sometimes characters, sometimes are difficult to figure out. Like, I happen to know that to make an accented E, you press Option or Alt and then the E, and then you type the next letter. So in this case, E, and that's how you make an acute accent. I'm going to undo. I think that works on Windows. I'm on a Mac. I have Windows, but I haven't tried that recently. And I know how to make the acute accent because my last name, Concepcion, has an accent over the O. So I'm always writing it. But what if I had to make one of these little circumflexes, I think they call them, like a little dunce cap over a letter? Like I think the U maybe has that here. How do I do that? Well, a couple different ways. Here are my secret weapons for easily adding diacritics. First of all, use the glyphs panel, and you'll find the glyphs panel under the type menu. Here, also under the window menu, go down to type in tables. It's there. It always confused me why Adobe put all panels relating to type in two different places, and it's only the type ones. I'm not sure why they did that. So it's because I have a U selected, it's showing me two U's, but that doesn't help me. It all would be nice if you could say, show me everything with a diacritic. Diacritics. No, doesn't. I guess that's not a good division. So instead, you could say, just show me the entire font, and then you have to scroll through here and look for the diacritics. And there's a whole bunch that are coming into view. Do you know what I just learned from one of my clients maybe about 3 months ago? That I knew that if you click zoom in, it would get bigger. And I always thought this is the weirdest piece of interface in the program. But what I just learned is that you can keep clicking zoom in and they get bigger. I always thought it was just like normal, big, but no. So there you go. Bonus tip. So I know that at some point, so here's a whole bunch of diacritics. So you could look for it, but you know it's faster. Is if you know the name of the diacritic, you could search for it. So show the entire font and then click in this search field, which a lot of people miss, that you can search in the glyphs panel. And I'll search for circumflex, and they're all coming up here, right? And now there's a U. So I could click over here and double click the U and it comes in there. I could have selected the U and double clicked it. So that's one way, is if you know the name of the diacritic, I think, isn't there one called a cedilla, something like that? So the little curly Q, yeah, cedilla underneath something. So I like that. The glyphs panel. Another way is, and I'm going to just turn this into a regular U, is to use the language dictionary. You know that InDesign is constantly spell checking as you type, and if you want to see its progress, you go to spelling and choose to show dynamic spelling. But so it's recognizing these words as properly spelled in English, but I know that's not correct in French. So if I select these two words and change the language, the spell check language, to French for these two words, something is misspelled in both of these words. And what's cool is that it includes the diacritics as making sure that things are spelled correctly. So crip, there we go, has a something, has a circumflex over the E. And this one, my right clicking isn't working right. There you go. Suzette, it doesn't know. I guess there's nothing under Suzette. So I'm not sure why. It's just not in the dictionary. All right, so I change the language all the time. Like I think I have an example here. Client gave me this ad. And so this is just a picture of an ad in French. And so I couldn't just select it and copy it. So you enter the text as is with no diacritics, and then you use the same tip. So I'll select this language and change it to French. And now it says, oh, now this word should be, maybe I'll do this. Does control still work? There you go. Look at all those. Those are a lot there. And you can do the same ones for down there. Okay. So that's easily add diacritics. Oh, I forgot. Hang on, let me undo. The third way is to use Google. So if I I have Google Translate bookmarked because I do this all the time. And if I click over here and type in, so it's detecting French. And if I want to translate it to English, actually, let's do it the other way. this, let's say this is English, and I want it to translate to French. There we go. I had it. I have it. There you go. See, it has all the diacritics used throughout. So you type in, even though it's in a different language, you say, hey, this is English. And then in the other one, you say, this should be Hungarian or it should be Spanish. And then it will add the diacritics for you. Woohoo! Then you can just select all the text or click the little copy guy here. And then we come back to InDesign and paste. And ta-da! Isn't that sweet? So Google Translate, change the language here in InDesign, or just search for the name of the diacritic. Okay, sound good? All right, good. Hopefully you're learning something. It's really hard because everything's so quiet. You can interrupt me at any time and say, that was astounding, Anne-Marie. Or, we all knew that already. Move on. So please go ahead. Speaking of weird little squiggles, what about ligatures? And I like this tip that I came up with in response to somebody asking about it in on one of the forums. So, I have to remember that I opened all these ligatures. The default ligatures, as you know, depending on the typeface that you're using, include like F and T combined here, F and I, FFI, they're all in one glyph and only at a certain size. If I make this word bigger, at some point, they break up. Okay, so let's not do that. But the problem that this person had that they posted about was that their client hated this glyph, the T combined with the H. So how can you get rid of just that one ligature? It's, you can either in preferences of, or for the paragraph style, which here is called intro, you can choose to have ligatures turned on or have them turned off. And if you have them turned off, let's get a preview here, then you start to get these collisions of letters and they look kind of dumb. Okay, so you usually want them turned on. You usually want them turned on, and that's why it's the default. We're not talking about special weirdo looking ligatures. We're talking about normal red-blooded American ligatures, Roman text, okay? But what they just did not like that TH. So here's the answer. If there is a particular ligature or ligatures that you don't like in a certain typeface, and you're using it, in a document, first create, let me click OK here, and first go to the character styles panel, and with nothing selected, should be none, there you go. Option or I'll click on the new character style and call it no ligatures. And all we're going to do is turn off the ligatures. That's all. Does nothing else except it turns off ligatures. Okay. So you could then select this TH and choose no ligatures. There you go. Now you could do fine change with format, but when you're doing something like this, you have to think, isn't there some faster way to do this in InDesign? Of course, you can use a grep style. So you go to the paragraph style, which is intro here, might be body or index or something else. And we're going to go down to grep style, and we're going to click new grep style, and we want to apply the style called no ligatures to text, and just type the straight text, TH. That's all, no ligatures. And then click over here and done, click OK, and there it goes. So you kept all the good ligatures, and the ones that your client doesn't like or that you don't like are gone.
Excuse me, Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
I think this is the grep one really helps me because I had a situation where I wanted to apply two different character styles to something. Or I would have had to make a third character style with both of the things that I wanted. So this is, I like this better.
Okay, cool. That's good news. All right. Let's move on. That was disable only one ligature. Quickly clean up text. Now, I'm going to guess that most of you know this already. This is more of a beginner intermediate, but I'm going to show it anyway. and let me know if it's new to you or not. Here we have our favorite program, Microsoft Word, right? And this is a client sends us a document done in Word, and they have helpfully tried to format it for us, like adding 10,000 tabs to make something center aligned, adding 2 spaces after periods, adding double dashes instead of an M dash. Look at all these tabs to make these columns aligned, right? So isn't like one of the first things you have to do in a lot of instances when you place a client's Word file or, colleague's Word file is to clean it up in InDesign, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to jump to InDesign. I'm just going to create a new document really fast and then go to File, Place, and go down to Text Cleanup. And we're going to check this one. So I'm going to show the import options. I don't remember how I left them last. And so it's thinking. Oh, I have a different app. Hang on a minute. All right, let's just, yeah, I have Words Flow installed, and I forgot that it takes over the importing. Words Flow is this really cool program from M Software that lets you make live links to Word documents so that if your client updates and saves changes to that first Word document that you've already placed and formatted and edited, it will update it correctly, just sort of feathering in their changes. But so let me get the real straight and true. So I have to come down here to Words Flow, place without Words Flow is what I want. And that is chapter 1. There we go. That's what we're familiar with. And I'll preserve the styles. Oh, let's just keep everything as is. Okay. And click to place it. And here it is. Let's turn on hidden characters. There's all the grossness. And of course, you can go to find change and type in, find double tabs, replace it with 1 tab. Or if you are a little bit more advanced, you can say find 1 or more tabs in a row, replace with 1 tab. Sometimes the program will have a query that automatically matches that for you. But don't even bother, because there's a script that comes with InDesign that will clean all that up for you. Open your scripts panel, which you can see is always here in my custom workspace. If you haven't added scripts there, you should, because they're so useful. But otherwise, you can go down to Utilities and choose Scripts. And the Scripts panel has 3 sections, ones that are installed for anybody who installs InDesign. That's called Application. You just go down to Samples and open up JavaScript. There's about maybe 15 of them here. While I'm here, I'll just mention that there's also Community. InDesign or Adobe asked some independent developers to contribute a free script starting a couple versions ago. So they're quite useful here. And I think I might do a video just on the community scripts. And then user are the ones that you have installed yourself. This one I think I've removed because I was trying to troubleshoot a problem. But you can quickly install scripts into your user folder without having to restart InDesign. But the one that I want to talk about is already installed. It's one of those freebies here in samples. It's called Find Change. Let's get Find Change by List. Here we go. So it's Find Change by List, and it's a script, meaning all you have to do is double click it. You should probably click inside the frame that you wanted to work on and then double click it. And it says, do you want to do the entire document or just the story that's active? And I'll say, no, it doesn't make a difference in this case, right? But I'll say just the story. Click OK. The end. Can you believe it? Look at this. So assumably you have styles already set up that does your space above, space below, first line indent, that has you're going to put these into a table, or you have tabs already saved for your columns. But notice like what it did here. Well, it didn't fix the typo here, but it converted the 2 hyphens to an M dash. It changed all double spaces or space runs to a single space, all tab runs to a single tab. If I don't know if you remembered, but the user helpfully used tabs for first line indents. It got rid of those as well. So even though there's one tab, because it followed a paragraph symbol, it got rid of it. Nice and fast, right? I love that script. Find change by list. What is this folder here? Find change support. It's actually a text file that find change by list uses to guide it in what it should find change. And if I right click and choose reveal in Finder, and then double click it, so it will open in whatever is the default text editor in your Windows or Mac machine, you'll see some instructions at the top. And it looks kind of gibberishy, but if you just sort of gaze at it for a while, you can see what it's going to do. So it runs a grep find change, which is finding two spaces or more and replaces with a single space. And you see a little explanation here of what it does. So these are just runs of different find changes, greps or text, and you can edit this. So if every time you enter an acronym and you want it bolded to apply a character style, there's all different ways that you can modify this for yourself. This is the default way. I think I had a cheat sheet here. Let me see in this thing. So text cleanup. Yeah, this is what it does by default. Space runs, returns, spaces followed by a return, tab runs of two or more, all returns followed by a tab and replaces it with just the return. Return runs of two or more replaced with a single return, space dash space, and dash dash. And you can add more, but that's pretty cool, I think. So that's the fastest way to clean up placed files is to use find change by list as is or after you've customized it.
I definitely didn't know that, so thank you.
Yay!
Very helpful.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, it's been
At
around
a
for a
Creative
while.
Pro last year, it seemed like it was in a packet that either Keith Gilbert or Mike Rankin gave to the attendees.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting that you're saying that it's part of InDesign now, because
Oh no, it's always been part of InDesign.
really,
Yeah, since the beginning of time.
because I had to download
They
it.
may have customized the text,
Mm.
to add more things. I'm not sure, but if you can if you know where it is, you can send me one. I
Yeah.
can take a look at it. But yeah, no, it's been part of InDesign for a long time. All right, that's called find change by list. Next, let's see. Where's my thing here? Well, I can just go according to this right here. Image gridify. Right. Okay. So gridifying images. Again, we're going to start with a blank document. The idea is you have a whole bunch of images to place. Maybe they're from an event that somebody gives you a bunch of images and you have to make a nice arrangement on a spread or a single page, or you're doing a yearbook, something like that. You've got a bunch of images that you need to arrange in a grid. Now you could drag out guidelines and then as you place them, make them snap. You could try to use a table with graphic cells. But one way that's been around for a while that I find really neat and fun to use is called Gridify. What you do is you load up your cursor with a whole bunch of images. So I've got a whole bunch here that I took when I was in Cuba. A few years ago, my family's from Cuba, and a few of us went down there to visit a family that's still living there. I don't need the import options. Okay, so give it a second. Now we have 12 images loaded in our cursor. I don't know if you can see it says 12. So as you drag, instead of just dragging and releasing and doing one by one by one by one, hold down the up arrow key, or just tap it, I should say. So my mouse is still pressed down. I'm still dragging. But every time that you tap the up arrow, it adds a row. Oops, let me start again. Okay, so every time you tap the up arrow, it adds a row, and the right arrow adds a column. You don't have to do the math. If you don't make enough of these little squares, you'll still have the remaining pictures loaded in your cursor. But I'm going to do 4 by 3. So let's do one more column. There we go. And then you drag this whole thing out and bang, it puts them all in there really fast. Now, if I'm going to undo and go up to the view menu go to the object menu, go to fitting, frame fitting options, and turn on auto fit, fill frame proportionally, so that as I drag, and I'm just going to drag like this and then go up arrow twice. There you go, like that. And release. Oh, it didn't work. They should have, there's something that I did before that I'm not doing now, but there is a way, if you turn on auto fit, that all these come in completely fitting and filling the frames. But one more tip that I want to show you with this is that, and of course I could go to the fitting now and do it after the fact, is that you can change the space, the gutter in between these items. People ask that all the time. So as I'm dragging, I can tap the up arrow. Let's say I just want to do a column of 3 images right here on the left, right? Oops, I have a twitchy thumb, so it's releasing. All right, stay down, thumb, stay down. If you hold down the Command or Control key and you tap the up arrow, it adds row space. See it? It doesn't tell you how much row space it's adding. You just have to eyeball it. And Command or Control right arrow adds column space between the columns. So you can do that. That's Gridify. Gridify is kind of fun to use. There's other ways to add spaces in a grid, but Gridify is always fun to impress your friends with. And it works.
Will it add the name of the file too? Like if you were doing like because I use the contact sheet thing in Photoshop.
It does not add it by default. You can, select all these. Hang on a minute. You can.
Isn't there a script for captions? I thought there was a
Yeah,
script.
that's what. There's probably script. Yeah, there's a caption feature.
Yeah.
But I think you'd have to set up beforehand, and you would say, let's just go like this. So say this one and then this one. The caption has to touch the image a little bit so you can see it's kind of overlapping. And then you go to Object, Captions, Captions Setup, and say, what is the text before? And the name, the metadata is going to be the name of the image. And I'll just call it Cuba. And position below the image, will that do it automatically? We don't have the paragraph style offset. Group the caption, go ahead. Hang on a minute. I haven't done this in a while, as you can tell, but there is a way to quickly do it here. So there we go. Let's say generate live caption. There. So I set it up and then you have to say generate. So now this is the name of the image here, 1251, and it made 1251, and it added the word that I entered beforehand.
Great,
so
thank you.
That's kind of cool. All right. Next tip, Aruni, is, I'm looking at the time, image mosaic. Yeah, okay. This beautiful image, let's say that you're doing something, some sort of brochure, something simple, and got a big image, but you want to make it a little bit more exciting. There's a script for that. Again, it comes with InDesign. It's in the app scripts, and it's called Make Grid. Now, let me just show you how it works. So I have the image selected. I'm going to double click Make Grid, and it says, okay, with this thing selected, how many rows, how many columns, and what should the space be between the rows and columns? And I'm going to say, let's say 2 rows, 5 columns, and no space. And retain formatting and contents, delete original object. I think I should. I haven't done this well. That's it. Does it look any different? No, but it is quite different because you can select these and you can move them over. You can, add a little note here and say, come to the succulent thing. And you can select them all and add the requisite drop shadow, right? Let's just go ahead and do a 25% drop shadow and everything. I mean, it's kind of cool what you can do. You can sort of randomize this, an image mosaic. So think about it next time that you're trying to add some interest or sparkle to some layout. You have a big image. Maybe this could be cool. You could just take one of these away or something. Now, I've shown this before, and people say, well, how do you get the original image back? How do you put Humpty Dumpty together again? Well, actually, each one of these frames has the entire image in it. The script just cropped them. So I can delete all these guys and this one, and then make this one larger, and there's the image. Okay, so that's make grid on a single image. Make grid is useful for other things as well, for text frames and so on, but for a single image is kind of neat. Moving on, image in a headline. Somebody just asked me how to do this the other day, and I'm like, you know what? That's interesting that you don't see this done that much, but it is a cool effect. A lot of people are like going to Illustrator to do stuff like this, but often you don't have to. You can do it right in InDesign. So let's say that you wanted this headline to be filled with this image. So your first thought might be, oh, I got to go to Photoshop and I got to make this kind of a selection and do the merge or the cut or whatever. No, you don't have to. Just do it in InDesign. Type out your type, make it nice and big, of course, and then convert it to outlines. So with the entire text frame selected, since I want everything converted to outlines, I go to the type menu and choose Create Outlines. Now, InDesign automatically groups them. You can see the grouping, the dashed line. So I'm going to ungroup with Command-Shift-G. Okay. And I am ungrouping because I need to turn this into a clipping path. This is the crucial step in order to be able to get this image inside here. You need to turn this vector object or group of vector objects into a clipping path. So with it selected, I go to Object, go down to Paths, and choose, oh, not a clipping path, sorry, compound path. If Make Compound Path is dimmed, then you probably forgot to ungroup the letters after you converted them to outlines. So do that, and then you might need to reselect them all and then choose Make Compound Path. Everything looks the same, right? Here we are in preview mode. It looks the same. But now I can select this image and copy it, or actually let me select the image itself, copy it, and then select all these and choose Edit, Paste Into. Ta-da! Let's add a drop shadow, right? Because, hey, we paid for it, came with the program. So I'm going to do a little drop shadow here, and you might want to do an outline around the letters or something. But this is a single image pasted into this compound path, and I can use my direct selection tool to move the image around the type. Is that the coolest thing or what? Yes. So those are the tips to fill type with an image. Of course, you can't edit the type now. We can't change the face or anything. These are vector objects. But as long as, you might want to save an editable copy off on the pasteboard in case you want to start over. But the steps again are convert the type to outlines, create outlines, and ungroup it, and then select them all and choose Object Path, Make Compound Path. Then you can copy and paste into, right? So just like 700 easy steps. But you saw how once you do it once, you can do it a whole bunch of times. All right. I think I have time for one more tip. Yeah. And this is a fast one. This is, again, why leave InDesign? Why not do everything inside this program? Let's say that you're working on, I'm going to switch to normal view. Is this one? Can I select these here or here? Yeah, there we go. Say that you're working on this document and you are going to export it as an interactive PDF that has buttons that bring you forward and back and jump you to the TOC. That will work in an interactive PDF, in a PDF, and that will work if you upload it to publish online. But say that you want to test it here before exporting to PDF. Often when you're designing something, you're trying different rollover colors and so on. So if I go to the window menu, go to interactive buttons and forms, and this one I have already turned into a button, and you can see this is the rollover. So let's zoom in here. It's really barely visible. Maybe I want the rollover to look different, right? So I will, with that selected, I'm going to go to swatches and choose, I don't know, let's try, oh, that's even worse. Let's try green. Okay, green is good. So the rollover state is going to be green. Now, I want to see what this looks like if somebody rolls over it, but I can't see if it's working or not. Let's do the same thing over here. Rollover state should be green. And I think I chose that guy. There you go. All right. And it's not just the rollover states that you might want to preview in InDesign. It's also the actions themselves. If somebody clicks on this, will it jump them to the next page? You might think, oh, just go to preview, but no, it doesn't do anything. How do you preview your interactive items without having to export to PDF, see if they work? Oh, it doesn't work. Go back to InDesign. You can do it right in InDesign with something called the EPUB Interactivity Preview Panel. What a mouthful. It's not just for EPUBs. It should just be called Interactivity Preview. It's just, the reason they called it is because when they added the feature of being able to make fixed layout EPUBs, a special kind of ebook that can be sold on the Kindle store and the Apple bookstore, but it looks like a print replica rather than the reflowing normal kind of ebook. This was a way to preview the interactivity because you can include animations and slideshows and all that kind of fun stuff in a fixed layout EPUB. But it works for any interactive document. I'll give you a tip here is that after you open it, make it really large because it's going to show you the page here. And if it's small, it's going to be a miniature of the page. And we want to, I'm going to set the preview to the entire document rather than just a single page. And then you sit here like, where is it? Like, I do this all the time. And you have to click the play button. I don't know why they torture us like this, but click the play to preview it. And then it does some hocus pocus with stuff with HTML and PNGs, and I don't know where this stuff is saved. And now we see the entire document. And now I can preview. Look at that. Can you see that? I can't really zoom in this panel, but this is the way to preview it. And if I click the right arrow, see, these I didn't update. These are still yellow rollovers. But here I can test that the clicking really does bring me to the next page and so on. So use the EPUB Interactivity Preview panel to preview your animations and buttons and things like that. You don't need to export. You can do it right here in InDesign. All right, that is it. And I got through all of them, I think. So the where is my, there you go, AMC tips. And let's do this. And so I'm going into slideshow mode. Stay in touch, folks. You can follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook at these URLs. Also, I use Calendly to meet with prospects or users or anybody who really wants to talk InDesign for free. Just go to that URL and choose a time slot. A lot of these tips came from my course, either previous videos or upcoming videos called InDesign Tips for Design Geeks. One of my favorite things I've ever done on LinkedIn Learning. Here's the URL to look at the course. And if you are not a premium subscriber, you can get, if you go there, you get a 30-day free trial, as long as you give them your credit card. You have to remember to cancel the free trial with 30 days. And that's my email address. And then I also have, oh, I didn't, where'd they go? Hang on a minute. There it is, discounts. I have a couple discounts for you. If you want to go to creativeproweek.com, any 2 or more days, it goes for 5 days, you can get $100 off your registration fee by using CPUG. Creative Pro User Group is what it stands for. Get $100 off, either in person or online. So that's a deal. If you want to subscribe to Creative Pro, the website, because you get a ton of great stuff and lots of discounts, lots of templates and artwork and add-ons and access to them. You get a monthly magazine as a PDF and access to those articles online. It's just great. What they're doing with it is incredible. You can get 15 bucks off. It's about 80 bucks a year by, oh, I forgot to make that bold. AMC is the code. Okay. And I forgot to delete that. As I ran out of time right before the meeting. Well, what did you guys think? Did you learn anything? Were there good tips for you? Yes,
yeah.
Good.
I've been working in video lately, so I have been out of InDesign for a while. So
okay.
it was helpful. Yeah.
What's out of InDesign?
No, I mean, like, okay, so
I know.
so I'm in
okay,
all
fine.
the programs, but I'm in video so much more now. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Well, if you have any questions about InDesign, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk with you. As a semi-retired person in between going on my RV trips and swimming in the pools and exploring the beautiful hiking trails around my house, I like to talk to people.
By the way, thank you for reaching out. I've followed you for years. So when you reached out and asked, I was like, oh my God, Anne Marie, so
that's cool. That's good. That's good. All right. Well, I'm glad that you're actually still in business. That's good to know.